Yeah, what's going on? This is part 2 of I just watched the other video, so this is literally 16 minutes later. Will they drop on the same day? Only you will know in the future, cocksuckers. So part 2, 1911 disassembly. I literally haven't even. You're looking at. I'm sitting in the same place. But let's go back down like this. Try to keep everything down on the table for you like that, all right? So, as long as nobody interrupts us, we'll go through and assemble this pig, all right? I'll try to give you some tips and tricks on anything like that. I feel like maybe we need to bring the camera up a little bit so y'all can see my fat belly. All right, you're gonna put the trigger in first. Slope goes that way, okay? Your trigger should just drop in. Your trigger should just drop in, okay? And the first few, I don't even know what you'd call that, fucking 300 thousandths of travel needs to be totally free. Needs to drop free, okay? If there's anything hanging up or perceivable anything, you're gonna get a bad trigger, okay? Incidentally, if you want to do a trigger job, everybody thinks that has to do with actually lightening the poundage of your springs. If you just go in here and polish up the trigger ways that these ride in, all of that is going to make an unbelievable feeling trigger. You can see the the cutouts right here where the trigger goes in, okay? Also, you want to get yourself a you also want to make sure, see the trigger bow right there, rising up. When it's at rest, you want to make sure that it is flush or slightly below the rails on the gun, right? So when this falls free, you don't want to see it sticking up. You can kind of see right there. See it's still sticking up, but when it drops, it's not. Okay, the other part you need to look at, which you can barely see the light reflecting off the trigger, moving on the side of the gun, right on the side right here, okay? You want to make sure that that's not sticking out into this opening, because that's going to keep your magazine from dropping free, okay? This one is fit very well, very well. Bravo, Springfield. Look, look, there's some companies out there, I've worked for them. And there's some guns out there that cost a lot of money that have a lot of cool dinosaur names and bullshit like that. And, you know, they have one where it's something that you don't want to see in Alaska when you're driving. But they're overpriced chunks of shit, you know. These fucking Springfields, man, I've only had to deal with a few of them, but like from the factory, they're pretty fucking nice. Once you put your trigger in there, you're gonna get your magazine catch. You're gonna put that in there like that. Now to engage it, you're gonna need to push it forward just slightly, whatever tool is necessary, and you're gonna rotate it clockwise until it snaps. Boom. Okay. Now you check tension, make sure that's beautiful. Beautiful. Now, next thing we're gonna put in there is we're gonna take the disconnector. Incidentally, I'm sure there's already a bunch of comments on the first video, but I will try harder to correctly name all the parts as I do know them. The first video, I think, whatever. I was just candidly doing it and I stopped and I said I should record this. Anyway, the next step is you're gonna take your disconnector. Okay, notice the flat. We're gonna turn that down as it's gonna orient on the back of the flat of that trigger. And you're also gonna find your sear, okay? Now, you see the hole in the disconnector right here, and you see the hole in the sear, if I can get it lined up with the camera, okay? Those two are gonna sit together like this. Flat's gonna go one way, the sear's gonna go the other way, all right? See that relationship? Now you're gonna hold it by the back flat part, and from the other side, you're gonna stick this up through this hole from this side. And as long as you got enough light, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. Bam! Now, you're going to want to make sure that that flat is riding on the back of the trigger. Get that all nice like you want it, okay? That way you know that this is going to line up. You're going to take your other finger down here, and you're going to push it up just slightly on the trigger as you come from the left side, the port side of the gun, okay? You're going to come in and you're going to catch both of those holes until they're together, all right? See that? Now this punch is catching the hole through the sear and the disconnector, and the relationship is happy. Now you're going to find your sear pin, okay? Now this is why we made sure to put the punch in from the port side, okay? Opposite of the plunger, opposite of the side that the thumb safety's on, all right? You're going to take this pin and you're going to slowly replace your punch with that pin, okay? We have free movement here. That's one of the biggest things that happens at the factory. You get a batch of guns coming through and your disconnector will not go in the disconnector hole because the tool bit has wore out. And that is for some reason a hole that most people in the factories do not check. They don't even think about it. They're so busy looking at other shit, nobody will look at a big burr. And you know, you'll have 1,000 frames with the same fucking burr because you got a drill bit that's got a chip on the goddamn flute. You know what I mean? So, we got the sear on top of the disconnector and the disconnector on top of the trigger. Y'all see that? Kind of. All right. So dig this. The next thing you're going to put in there is your hammer, okay? And the hammer is very easy to line up. You can actually turn it from this way and you can look at it. It's a very large hole. That's something that she tries not to say, but she can't lie about it. But this is not, there you go. So you can just line that up with your eyeball because it's a fairly big pin. Now, you're gonna throw your tail out. You're gonna find your sear spring, okay? And you're going, there's a little, right here, I don't know how this camera is gonna work, but you can see there's a little hook on this end, that's the bottom. That hook's gonna go in this little, you'll see a slot at the bottom of your frame. Okay, if you just hook that in there and kind of, oh, hold on. If you hook that underneath and then get in there, it should lay where you need to be. Okay, the middle spring needs to land on the disconnector, okay, on the flat pad. The first longer spring, that's the trigger return spring. That needs to sit on the little notch that's above the disconnector, okay? And then your grip, this is your grip safety spring. I'm sure it has a kind of another name, but so once you're at this point, you're really doing good. Your mainspring is inside of this, and you never really need to change that unless your gun is so old and you're changing other. If you start changing springs because shit's just wore out, change all the springs. You know? All right, so you get that fit on there. Okay, we push the tail down. Now on the mainspring housing, there is a divot, and that tail goes in that divot. Again, with a trigger job, there's a lot of things that you can polish and deburr. One of the things most people do not do is they do not polish the inside of that hole and the end of the trigger. And it just compounds the feeling of smoothness, okay? So now we have that lined up. And we put in our thumb safety. Okay, the thumb safety has a little U-notch in it. See that right there on the end? That U-notch, you're gonna line up these holes with these holes. And that U-notch, that tail of the hammer that I was showing you, that's gonna ride in that notch, okay? Now if that's in that notch and you got everything back, you should be able to push I said you should be able to push. Your mainspring housing. I have to say, the only thing I've seen on this gun part-wise I don't like is the trigger bow that we just saw, or the hammer bow. It's very sharp and small on the bottom, and there are other companies that have a kind of a round ball that fits in the round notch at the bottom, you know, so it has much more of it's a much more positive effect, I think. I don't know. I don't like the way that part on this looks weak to me. It's spindly. We're putting the mainspring housing pin in there. Okay. So we got mainspring housing and the pin in there on the spring. Everything is cool. We're checking to make sure we have never dry fire it like this. People say never dry fire your guns and all that shit, but there's more to it than that. Never dry fire a rim fire gun. You can dry fire center fire guns. The only thing you need to worry about past that dry firing is dry firing guns when they're apart, okay? Now, we've put the grip safety in. We got the holes lined up. You gotta have the hammer back or this next part won't go in there. Even motherfuckers that know what they're doing will sit there by the end of a fucking 70-hour work week and they'll be trying to put a goddamn thumb safety in there and they'll be wondering what's wrong and the hammer will be forward. They forgot to put the hammer back. Like, that happens to everybody, yo. It really does. I hope I'm not going too fast. We put that plunger in there, okay? We have everything lined up here. You're gonna go in there. You're gonna wiggle it around until you get in there, and now you're set. Now, dig this. See, this is sitting up. It's sitting up on that plunger. Okay, this is another good opportunity to push that plunger and fuck shit up. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to get in there, and I'm doing this on the camera, so so let's hope it. I'm looking in the camera while doing this, so let me make sure I can fucking not fuck this up. Because I don't have a spare one of these. So we're gonna push that plunger in. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I can't see. I have to do it like this. Can y'all see what I'm doing this way? Okay, let's turn it like this. I gotta get the human vice in there. Wait a minute. There we go. Okay. So I'm just past the plunger. Okay? There. I don't know, you probably couldn't hear that, but look, it's functioning. If you do it slow, there's no... Ooh, I don't like that. Huh. I don't like that, Springfield. You see there's 2 clicks. 1, 2. That shouldn't be there. Ooh, I don't like that. We're gonna have to... Once we assemble this back, we're gonna see if we can still feel that perceivably when it's together, because when there's tension, sometimes you can't feel that. I've been shooting this gun for about a year, and this is the first time I've even actually taken it the fuck apart that far, just because you really don't need to, depending on what kind of use you're putting out of it, you know? I'm just assembling the barrel. I guess I should probably say something. the barrel goes in this way. A lot of people will struggle for a long time trying to go like this, and like it won't go. Okay, it goes this way. Okay, now you have your barrel bushing. Your barrel bushing has a notch on it. See it right there. Okay, that notch is going to be straight up when you go in, and then you're going to turn it to your, I guess it would be your left. It would be my left is what I'm saying. It's your left if you're me doing it. I guess that's how I'm trying to say that, okay? Then you're going to rotate it back to the middle when you're ready, okay? Then you're going to put in your recoil spring and recoil spring plug. Guide rod. This is your recoil spring plug. Oh, I'm mad about that safety, and it has that double notch. That notch, incidentally, that little double click that we got going on, that's going to be on the inside. There's a flat spot it's flat on the top and it's round on the bottom. And there must be a little, where that transition is not smooth, probably. Okay, now we're like this. We're gonna get in there like so. We're gonna make sure to line up that barrel link with the hole in the frame. I cheat so I don't scratch anything. Get it together like that. A lot of people don't do this part. Put the safety on. Okay, then you're gonna put your recoil spring on there like this. In there, safety off, safety check. All right, let's go through a quick safety check real quick. Whoop, we're back here. So the gun is together, all right? So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check for hammer follow, okay, hammer follow. And what we're looking for is to make sure that the hammer doesn't follow. If you do a really too light of a trigger job, or if you fucking snap it and do this, you can usually get it to follow, even if it's fit well. But you can see, so that's not hammer following. Okay, we're gonna make sure the disconnector works. The disconnector is what it sounds like. If it's disconnected, it doesn't shoot. So you put your hand over the gun should not shoot. If the gun was not in full lockup and it shot, that would be a goddamn problem, wouldn't it? So John Browning knew what he was doing. So you got hammer follow, you got disconnector, you got thumb safety, okay? Thumb safety's engaged, you pull the trigger really hard, you let go of the trigger, you drop the safety. Make sure it doesn't fucking fall. If you do these checks to your gun and you've never fucked with it and it does that, send it back to the factory. And there's a lot of you out there who will not fucking believe how many of your fucking guns, especially from high dollar manufacturers, will do this, okay? And the other is grip safety check, okay? So the thumb safety is disengaged, but the grip safety is not engaged, and the gun is locked up. You go to pull the trigger. Don't pull because the grip safety, you engage the grip safety, you pull the trigger, you let go of the grip safety stays down. As the trigger resets, so does the grip safety. Well, as seen here, watch. Boop. Now, that is a functioning gun. The only other check we have not tried, and it's because mine are loaded, is you would put your magazine in, unloaded magazine, and you would hit the magazine release, and your magazine should fall freely from the gun. Completely freely. There should be no pulling, no nothing. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is a complete assembly of a 1911 safety and function checked by General Lack Sivrak, taught by the old school motherfuckers. Shout out to Buckshot John. Shout out to Alan Lohr. Hey, shout out to Gary Reeder. I hope you're doing good, motherfucker. Shout out to the Wells boys. Shout out to all them gun motherfuckers. Shout out to Michael Rizzo, one of the few people on, what are we on? YouTube, who openly admits about how badass 1911s are. Shout out to Mike Bellevue at Duelist Den. Everybody go check out him. I'll try to put the link in the description, and a shout out to all these fellows. Again, big shout out to Captain Spaulding and Rolando. And I'll show you right now why that is. This has been General Ack Sivrak saying Mexican carry for everyone. Arriba.